Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us for today's inauguration ceremony of Eduardo M. Peña-Ver as the 22nd president of Seattle University. Please welcome Seattle's King 5 News anchor, Mark Wright, to the stage, who will announce our academic procession.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here on this important day. The inauguration of a university president is a momentous occasion that brings together the university faculty, staff, students, alumni, leadership, benefactors, friends, civic leaders, and leaders of institutions of higher education throughout the nation. The ceremony begins with the academic procession, a tradition convening of the Academy for this august and joyous occasion. We ask for your attention as we recognize the individuals and the groups in the academic procession. The academic procession is led by the President of the Academic Assembly and Grand Marshal, Professor Frank Shih. Please welcome Professor Frank Shih. And please welcome Seattle University Student Development Professional Staff, Library Faculty and Staff, Academic Affairs Staff, University-wide staff, and student representatives, led by Vice President for Student Development, Alvin Sturdivant, and Dean of the Lemieux Library and McGoldrick Learning Commons, Sarah Watstein. Seattle University is a proud member of the Association of Jesuit Colleges and Universities, a network of 28 Jesuit institutions of higher education in the United States and Belize. Please welcome the institutional representatives from the Association of Jesuit Colleges and Universities in the order of their founding. First, Georgetown University. St. Louis University. Spring Hill College. Xavier University and Associate Dean, Williams College of Business, Michelle Matherly. Fordham University. College of the Holy Cross. St. Joseph's University and Representative Ms. Joanne Lopez. Santa Clara University. Loyola University, Maryland, and Interim Dean, Swellinger School of Business, Bobby Waldrop. University of San Francisco. Boston College. Canisius College. Loyola University, Chicago, and Dr. Dee Dee Gallagher. St. Peter's University. Regis University. University of Detroit Mercy and President Antoine Garibaldi. Creighton University. Marquette University and Mr. Jim Eschweiler. John Carroll University. Gonzaga University and Executive Director of Alumni Relations, Kara Hertz. St. John's College. The University of Scranton. Rockhurst University. Loyola Marymount University. Loyola University, New Orleans. Fairfield University and Mr. Bill Holseman. Lemoyne College. Now please welcome the Executive Director of the Independent Colleges of Washington, Dr. Terry Standish Kiwan. Now please welcome representatives from institutions of higher education throughout the United States in the order of their founding. Please welcome University of Michigan and Ms. Markeisha Miner. Whitman College and Dean of Students, Kazi Joshua. Cornell University and Associate Dean of Cornell Law School, Monica Ingram and Ms. Annette Hayes. California State University at Chico and Mr. David Stephen. University of Puget Sound and President Isaiah Crawford. Whitworth University and President Scott McQuilkin. Seattle Pacific University and Interim President Pete Manjarrez. University of Portland and Associate Professor, Pamplin School of Business, Father Dan Parrish, CSC. Now please welcome the faculty and staff of Seattle University, who will process by college and school in the order of their founding. Please welcome the College of Arts and Sciences, led by Dean David V. Powers. Now please welcome the College of Education, led by Interim Dean Paulette Kidder and Incoming Dean Cynthia Dillard. Please welcome the College of Nursing, led by Dean Kristen M. Swanson. Please welcome the Albers School of Business and Economics, led by Dean Joseph M. Phillips. Please welcome the College of Science and Engineering, led by Dean Michael J. Quinn. Please welcome the Seattle University School of Law, led by Dean Annette E. Clark, class of 1989. Please welcome the School of Theology and Ministry, led by Executive Director Erica L. Martin. Please welcome the School of New and Continuing Studies, led by Dean Richard Fehrenbacher. Now please welcome the Seattle University Cabinet, led by Executive Vice President Timothy P. Leary. Now please welcome the Seattle University Alumni Board of Governors. Also, please welcome the Seattle University Board of Regents. And please welcome the Seattle University Board of Trustees, led by Board of Trustees Vice Chair David Burcham. Now please welcome the inauguration platform party led by Provost Shane P. Martin. Now please welcome the Provincial of the Jesuit West Province, the Very Reverend Sean O. Carroll of the Society of Jesus. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 22nd President of Seattle University, Eduardo M. Peñalver. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our academic procession. Please join me in thanking Mosaic Brass Quintet. Now I would like to introduce the Master of Ceremonies today, Seattle University Provost Shane P. Martin.
Good morning. And let's thank Mark for joining us as today's academic procession announcer. Please join me in thanking Mark Wright. Good morning and welcome to the inauguration ceremony of Eduardo Moises Peñalver, the 22nd President of Seattle University. We are honored to be surrounded today by members of our community, from students in their very first days of classes, to long-serving faculty and staff, to our prominent alumni, community and regional partners, to business and civic leaders, to friends, supporters, delegates from our Jesuit academic institutions of higher education throughout the United States, and our distinguished guests. I would especially like to acknowledge the university presidents and President Emeriti who are here with us today. We recognize that today's ceremony comes at a time like no other, with many challenges and opportunities. And perhaps because of this, we are truly joyful and eager to gather in community to formally inaugurate Eduardo Peñalver as the 22nd President of Seattle University. Today's ceremony marks a new chapter in the life of the university. and deepens our commitment to live out the mission of Seattle University. Now more than ever, we are dedicated to educating the whole person, to professional formation, and to empowering leaders for a just and humane world. As we begin our program, I would like to share with you a brief video message of welcome from Washington State Governor Jay Inslee.
Hi, Governor Jay Inslee here. I'd like to congratulate Eduardo Peñalver on his new role as president of Seattle University. We're happy to welcome Eduardo back to the Puget Sound region, and I know he'll appreciate being closer to both his brother and the Seattle Mariners. Seattle University is gaining a strong leader in Eduardo. His previous experience speaks to that remarkable leadership, from his undergraduate study at Cornell to his service as Dean of the Law School. I'd also like to thank Father Steve Sundberg for his 24 years of service to the university. Seattle University's focus on sustainability, racial justice, and economic inequality produces graduates that are ready to engage in some of the most difficult problems of our era. And I know that Eduardo's leadership will help take the university even further in these fronts. So again, congratulations, welcome home, and go Red Hawks.
Thank you, Governor Inslee. We are honored to welcome representatives from our state and local civic offices today. Please join me in welcoming, representing Senator Patty Murray, her State Director Sean Bills, representing Senator Maria Cantwell, her Deputy State Director Paul Quinones, representing Congressman Adam Smith, his District Representative Marvin Ng, representing Washington's 34th District and proud Seattle U alum, Senator Joe Nguyen of the class of 2006, representing Washington's 47th District and proud Seattle U alum, Representative Deborah Intiman of the class of 2003, and representing Seattle City Council President Lorena Gonzalez, her Senior Policy Advisor, V. Nguyen. Please join me in welcoming our elected officials and their representatives. I'm delighted now to introduce our honored guests who are on the stage today, and please hold your applause until the end. So I will introduce our stage platform party, starting on the back row on my right, your left, Marrakesh Maxwell, class of 2022, Student Government of Seattle University President. Just put your hand, there you go. Our musicians, Dr. Aaron Chung, Quentin Morris, and Dr. Leanne Conley-Holcomb. The President of Seattle University's Alumni Board of Governors, D.G. Widener. Jill Lapointe, the Director of the Lushizid Research Institute. Natasha Martin, Seattle University Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion. Nicole Piasecki, the Chair of Seattle University Board of Trustees. The 22nd President of Seattle University, Eduardo M. Peñalver. And on the other side of the stage, someone who I think is well known to this community. Well, first of all, our academic procession announcer, Mark Wright, is in the back. And then we'll go to the front, Father Stephen Sundberg of the Society of Jesus, Seattle University President Emeritus. Father Robert Niehoff of the Society of Jesus, who is the Provincial Assistant for Higher Education in the U.S. West Province of the Society of Jesus, who serves as the Delegate for Higher Education, the Jesuit Conference of Canada and the United States, and I should note is also the President Emeritus of John Carroll University. And next to him is Father Sean Carroll, the Provincial of the Society of Jesus. And next is the Chair of Seattle University Board of Regents, Hugh Bangasser. And finally, and very importantly, we have Beverly Ann Peters and her family from the Indian tribal community, Swinomish. So thank you for all of us to being on the stage today and representing your esteemed constituents. Let's recognize our stage party. And it's now my great honor to introduce Jill LaPointe, Director of the Lachute Seed Research Institute and granddaughter of renowned Lachute Seed culture and language advocate Vi Hilbert. Jill is an enrolled member of the Nooksack tribe and a descendant of the Upper Skagit tribes. She currently serves as the Traditional Health Program Director with the Seattle Indian Health Board. She earned her MSW from the University of Washington and completed the Pastoral Leadership Certificate in Seattle University's School of Theology and Ministry, and continues to enjoy collaborating with the Indigenous Peoples Institute. Please welcome Jill LaPointe.
Tuhwa Golapo de Asian, Ti Siaya, Obut Bolachibi to Butanchas, Quia Tia Swaftutan, Twal Tia Yalyalabchas, Duhwabsh, Sokwabsh, Stokwabsh, Gwiltiat Buk at Tabu. Good morning, friends and honorable ones. We raise our hands in welcome and gratitude, and we acknowledge this land that we're on is sacred to our beloved ancestors, to the Duwamish people, the Suquamish, the Snoqualmie, and all of the indigenous people who call this land home. It brings me tremendous joy to be here with all of you today. It is both an honor and a privilege to welcome our new president, Eduardo Peñalver. Teje debut, lishoyad de quadhach. I don't believe anyone would deny that Father Sundberg, throughout his tenure, cast a brilliant and radiant light that will not fade easily nor quickly. We are forever grateful for his leadership and the formidable foundation he laid for good relations with our local tribal communities and all of the First People. We look forward with hopeful enthusiasm that the rich and plentiful soil that Father Sundberg so intently cultivated and labored will continue to bear rich and bountiful fruit. My family has and continues to hold Seattle University in the highest regard for several reasons. The Vi Hilbert Ethnobotanical Garden, the incredible murals by Andrew Morrison in the Student Center, and of course, the Vi Takshablu Hilbert Hall. My grandmother's life's work extended far beyond language and storytelling. She recognized the unconditional love and compassion that emanates from our language and culture. Her elders showed her what a truly selfless community looked like, and she wanted to share that with anyone who was willing to listen. The fact that Seattle University continues to recognize the healing power of her vision and work only deepens my regard for the school and its commitment to social justice, equity, and diversity. 15 years ago, when my husband John attended Seattle University, there was a tiny handful of Native students. Occasionally, he would mention that he could go for days and sometimes weeks or longer without seeing another Native person on campus. Can you imagine going weeks without seeing another single face that represents your own heritage or racial identity? It was a challenging time, made particularly difficult because we had been living on the Swinomish Reservation for nearly 2 decades, raising our children before moving back to the city. The immense cultural shift that we experienced was more than we had anticipated. We were fortunate, though, that Father Patrick Toohey had just been reassigned from the Swinomish tribe to Seattle U campus, and whenever we could find an opening in our schedules, we would gather in an effort to fill some of that lonesome void, where we longed for the familiar sounds of laughter and the joys that define our sense of community. Occasionally, John would come home and tell me how someone had come into the classroom during the middle of a lecture and handed his professor a note, followed by the professor announcing to the entire class, "Mr. Lapointe, you are excused for the day. It appears you're wanted in the president's dining room for lunch." Father Steve routinely invited Native students to share a meal with him, and he was always asking, "What can I do to help Native students succeed? And what can Seattle University do?" During his time as a graduate student, my husband and I engaged in countless meetings with faculty members like Ted Fortier, Jeanette Rodriguez, Christina Roberts, Sharon Callahan, Mark McCooley, and others like Father Pat Toohey and Steve and Tricia Traynor, to talk about strategies to increase Native student enrollment and retention. In nearly all those meetings, the conversations inevitably came back to building relationships of trust with our tribal communities. I like to believe that some of those early conversations helped pave the way for the eventual creation of the Indigenous Peoples Institute, which now provides a safe and welcoming space for Native students to gather and enjoy a few moments of refuge and recreate a sense of support, like the homes and families they left to pursue their education. In addition, since 2010, Seattle University Office of the President has been hosting the annual Lushootseed Language Conference, which has successfully brought together participants from nearly all Puget Coast Salish tribes, as well as a richly diverse collection of scholars, teachers, and local community members. There is a beautiful and rich cultural legacy woven through all our Indigenous peoples. Seattle U has made a grand beginning in recognizing and honoring Indigenous people. The beautiful Vaitakshablu Hilbert Hall stands as a tribute to all our ancestors who once lived right here on this land, welcoming each new student from all walks of life and bridging the wisdom of our past to endless possibilities for the future, a future that will celebrate and embrace all human beings, rich or poor, black, red, or white, young and old, a future that honors the dignity of all people. Through creative leadership and compassion, you have the exquisite opportunity to carry Seattle University to the next levels of excellence. Huitelich Siayus. This is the work that the Creator is wrapping you in. We are glad that you are here. O Abash Hachbidchad to Siayus Atahaf. I give good thoughts and prayers to the work that lies before you. At this time, we will be joined by Beverly Peters and family from the Swinomish Indian tribal community for the Coast Salish National Anthem.
Hachkasiyayas. Thank you, my friends, for inviting us to this special occasion. It's an honor for us. As you see in the program, Coast Salish Anthem, how it came about. We are descendants of the Chief Dan George family from the Tsleil-Waututh Nation in North Vancouver, BC. As Dan's father was dying, this prayer song came to him and healed him. In later years, the chiefs throughout Salish Coast Territory came about to the family and asked them to use it as a Coast Salish anthem. That's how it came to be. So we're carrying on this tradition for our families and everyone that needs this healing and prayer.
Please remain standing. And thank you to the Peters family. I now invite Seattle University Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion, Natasha Martin, to give the invocation.
This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Psalms 118:24. As we invoke the divine presence of God, let us hold gratitude and wonder at God's amazing grace that we are gathered here together for this auspicious occasion, and for the sacred blessing we have received from our indigenous elders and their descendants. Let us pray. God, the Creator, God of mercy and infinite love, we ask blessings on all those gathered here in this majestic hall, including ambassadors of academic institutions across the country, trustees, alumni, our dedicated faculty and staff, friends, family, and our reason for being, our students. Bless those joining us outside of this hall, near and far. Glory be to God for this day. We give thanks for this new beginning, a historic new beginning for our common home, Seattle University. Dear God, we seek blessings on Eduardo Peñalver as he joins the Seattle University community to lead it to its promise and through the perils that may lie ahead. Grant him inspiration, humility, wisdom, and strength for the journey. May discernment be the path of his labor, and decisiveness and care its fruit. May new challenges ignite and enliven Eduardo's creativity and courage to guide us beyond old limits, enriched by what has come before, and soar Seattle University to new heights. May he rediscover the magic of his childhood here, the beauty of the Pacific Northwest, the joy and comfort of family, and the vitality of leading as a whole person. We offer blessings for Sheetal and their sons, that they may have a home here as well, and draw strength from this caring community. For we know leading as a whole person requires reciprocity between us and those dearest to our new leader. Open unto us the capacity to accompany Eduardo with open hearts and minds as we dream together and co-create a distinctive university where ideas, connection, discovery, and the pursuit of justice are simply irresistible. May our Jesuit values, Catholic character, and inclusive mission be our compass. Fortify us all that we may support the vital work of this university under the leadership of Eduardo Peñalver, to educate the next generation of leaders, seekers of truth, and agents for change, who remain fully alive to the world around them as people for others for the common good. The world is complex, and thus our charge is formidable. Gracious God, take hold of our broken hearts and weary bodies. Renew them to be hope-filled vessels of love, liberation, and instruments of thy peace, so that we may transform creative tension into creative action in service of our purpose. Let these words of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on peace be our guide. Quote, all life is interrelated. We are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied into a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all, indirectly. We are made to live together because of the interrelated structure of reality. All of our struggles are really one struggle for the soul of humanity, end quote. God of light, help us to be more human in all of our imperfections. And through our interdependence, may we experience the transformative power of God's everlasting love. Amen. Please welcome Dr. Leanne Conley Holcomb and Amy Bors, who will perform a simple song from Mass by Leonard Bernstein.
Please be seated.
Simple song, loud will sing the Lord a new song, to praise him, to bless the Lord. I will sing his praises while I live all of my days. Blessed is the one who loves the Lord. Blessed is the one who praises him. Louder, 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 and walks in his ways. I will lift up my eyes to the hills from whence comes my help. I will lift up my voice to the Lord, singing louder, louder. For the Lord is my shade, is the shade upon my right hand, and the sun shall not smite me by day, nor the moon by night. Blessed is the one who loves the Lord. Louder, 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 and walks in his ways. Louder, louder, louder. Louder, louder, all of my days.
Thank you, Dr. Leanne Conley Holcomb and Amy Boyers. We are so grateful for your contributions to today's program. Professor Leanne Conley Holcomb is director of the choral and vocal activities at Seattle University, where she oversees the voice program, conducts choirs, and teaches conducting. Thank you again for that beautiful musical contribution. At this time, it is a great privilege to introduce the chair of Seattle University's Board of Trustees, Nicole Piasecki.
Greetings. On behalf of Seattle University's Board of Trustees, I also extend my warm greetings to our honored guests and distinguished representatives from colleges and universities across the country, and to our faculty, administration, staff, alumni, and students. Thank you all so much for being here for this historic moment, the inauguration of Seattle University's first lay president, Eduardo Peñalver. Our purpose today is to inaugurate Eduardo as the 22nd president of Seattle University, but a presidential inauguration is also a celebration of an entire university, a time to reaffirm our commitment to our mission, and a time to reimagine the possibilities of our bright future. Our unique position as Seattle's university is central to our future. Where we are is vital to who we are. the qualities that make Seattle University great, excellence, collaboration, innovation, and hard work, are the same qualities that make this city and region great. Like this city, Seattle University has a local feel and a global reach. Seattle U's location in the heart of Global Innovation Hub represents a wealth of opportunities. Our strong tradition of academic rigor and progressive Jesuit values create an educational and community experience that mirrors the innovative spirit and progressive values of Seattle itself. How well we connect to our location is also vital to who we are. We must and we will continue to cultivate and strengthen our partnerships in the community we're an integral part of. Some of the world's most successful companies in our economy's leading industries are right here in our backyard. To reach our best potential, we must continue to broaden and deepen our connections with these companies and with the people who make them great. We must be a part of and help lead the innovation economy and the community solutions such an economy demands. And that is just what we are doing. The new Jim and Janet Sinegal Center for Science and Innovation is a great example. Within those walls, all students will develop technical knowledge and skills in subjects like biology, chemistry, data and computer science, and engineering in the same space that houses the Stephen Sundborg Center for Community Engagement. This convergence of innovation and humanity empowers students to be the architects of our future. Our Ignatian values-based approach to learning is another key element in connecting the world beyond our campus. Our outstanding faculty, staff, Jesuit community, and students are all critical thinkers, problem solvers, and scholars with practical skills and strong moral compasses. We understand the challenges that impact our community, and we work to find solutions with care and creativity. We are preparing our smart and diverse student body by empowering them to be partners in this community and help shape the world around them. Great leadership is absolutely critical to achieving the bright future we envision and strive toward. Seattle University's strong foundation on 130 years of academic achievement, integrity, inclusion, and leadership. Seattle U has been blessed with exceptional, strong, and community-connected presidents. Today, we continue with that tradition while making history. Under President Peñalver's bold leadership, we are poised to move into that future with confidence. Eduardo, we have high expectations of you, and we know you will exceed them. You are the right leader at the right time. Godspeed, my friend. And now it is my profound pleasure to introduce another incredible leader who helped lay the solid foundation on which we stand. Please join me in welcoming Seattle University's longest-serving president, former President Father Steve Sundborg of the Society of Jesus. Father Steve.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been 24 years this very week since Seattle University has been able to join in the joyful celebration of the inauguration of a new president. Today, as we gather as a university community with representatives of other colleges and universities, with civic leaders, with the Provincial of the Society of Jesus, which sponsors Seattle University, with representatives of the Catholic Archdiocese, with alumni, donors, friends, to welcome, install, and to embrace Eduardo Peñalver as the 22nd president of Seattle University. 24 years is a long time to look forward to this kind of joyous occasion. President Peñalver will be the new leader for a new era of Seattle University. We've had several eras in our history, from 1891 to 2021. From college to university, from men only to coeducational, from a small Catholic college on the Hill to a large, comprehensive, and inclusive Jesuit and Catholic university, from a local to a national and international institution, from a school staffed principally led by Jesuit priests to a lay-led and lay-empowered academic community, from a quieter to a more bold and assertive enterprise, from an academic sanctuary to a community-engaged and issue-defined Seattle University. This is a history of eras and a tradition to be proud of, to be built on for the future, to be true to in its values, and especially of the sacrifices of its people. Now it is clear that we are moving into a new era that calls for the kind of leadership that President Eduardo Peñalver will bring. This is a time when the voices of all need to be heard, so we have a president who really knows how to listen. Now the university needs to be smarter than ever in its choices and decisions, so we need the brilliance and the thoughtfulness and the judicious decisions of our new leader. The university is poised in this new era to reach out as never before to partnerships, civic, business, and commercial alliances, so we have a president known for his capacity for collaboration. It's time to move in our Jesuit and Catholic character into changes and challenges that only a deeply Catholic and Jesuit-inspired lay president can discern, respond to, make credible, and animate. This university will increasingly be evaluated for the quality, the depth, and the relevance of its academic programs. So the university has found a proven, acclaimed academic scholar and leader. The new era is marked more than ever before by diversity, inclusion, respect for all identities. So in Eduardo, the right president from personal and administrative experience will eagerly join the whole university in these commitments. And finally, Seattle University is really still a young university, coming only now into its own with its best years ahead of it. So it will have a young leader with his best years ahead of him. So what we are doing today is inaugurating a new leader for a new era at Seattle University. We're also inaugurating today a leader within a much wider compass. Eduardo, early in your term at Seattle University, the university will reach 100,000 alumni. Inspire and mobilize them as empowered leaders for a just and a humane world. In these 2 years, the past one and the current one, 12 of the 27 presidencies among Jesuit colleges and universities in our country are changing. Become personally a leader in U.S. Jesuit higher education. Also in these 2 current years, 5 of the 10 presidents of the independent colleges of Washington are transitioning. So be a leader among them for the role of independent higher education in the state of Washington. Step forward in leadership among the 13 presidents of the Western Athletic Conference and beyond as Seattle University seeks prominence in athletics as one part of its reputation and its Jesuit identity. And Seattle needs your personal leadership and what you can bring from the resources of the university to address homelessness and inequality, discrimination, and the revitalization and the healing of our city. Be a leader locally, but also nationally, commenting as you so well do on wider social and legal issues, convincing America of the irreplaceable and the critical value of higher education for the well-being of its citizens and the fulfillment of its purposes. None of this wider compass of leadership is extrinsic to your being the president of this university, because its mission and your position within it invites and encourages you to this wider service as integral to what the university is and what it calls for from you. Eduardo, it may seem to you, I'm sure it does, that a lot, perhaps too much, is hoped for and expected of you. I have one comment and two pieces of advice. Comment. At first, you may not relish the repeated question that you will receive, do you enjoy being president of Seattle U? It's just too big and too overwhelming in the beginning to enjoy, though it's always meaningful. But joy takes over. The joy of welcoming new students to the campus with their parents, and the exceeding joy of the commencements. The spontaneous, often zany comments of students about whether their courses are hard enough or their tuition is high enough, or what they think your job is. Enjoying presentations of faculty and student scholarship, the senior engineering projects, students dressed up and primed, heading for career interviews. What joy there is in the huge crowd lighting on campus the Christmas tree, or you on stage giving a pitch at the dance marathon, celebrating a sports championship, or sitting back and bursting with pride at a Seattle University choir or play, being joyfully humbled by the generous philanthropy of committed friends, being with bright-eyed kids of the neighborhood served by our students in the Seattle University Youth Initiative, and perhaps holding back tears of consoling joy in the Chapel of St. Ignatius celebrating the lives of beloved colleagues, or in the Cathedral of St. James at the glorious Baccalaureate Mass. Indeed, joy comes forward. It suffuses, it lightens all the expectations and the dedicated work. That's my comment. Now, two pieces of advice. First of all, count on others. Count on others. Count on faculty and staff who know the mission of the university and are committed to making it real. Count on the best Board of Trustees and Board of Regents and cabinet and deans and academic and staff leaders any president could inherit. Count on the Society of Jesus, this Jesuits West Province and the Arupe Jesuit community to partner with and to support you. Count on the Catholic faith community, which is grateful for how this university always has, and even more, can be a source for its life. Count on civic and business and not-for-profit communities to welcome you warmly for your service, your joint leadership, and the unique contribution the university can make. Count on the presidents of the 10 independent colleges of Washington, what we like to call the Terrific 10. Count on them to be your closest colleagues. Count on the Association of the 27 Jesuit colleges and universities of the United States to support, guide, and to join with you in advancing Jesuit higher education. And count on the students and the alumni of the university to be your best inspiration, your daily uplifting source of purpose. Count on the spirit of Seattle University, a unique spirit which is bold and outgoing, socially engaged, and free. It will buoy you up. And my other comment, my advice, goes like this. The Board of Trustees chose you to be president of Seattle University. The most important word in that sentence is you. They did not just choose the most qualified candidate, they chose you. So be who you are. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing better. Let the university know you. Know your thoughtfulness and what you think. Know your faith and what you believe. Know your leadership and what you most care about. Know what you treasure as husband and father and son and brother and uncle. Know your humility, your warmth, your humor, your Northwest spirit, your love. Let the university and the wider community know you and know you soon. That's the place to start, as you have already begun to do. Knowing you will give others confidence and trust and respect and a sense of shared mission. The job will shape you. It'll change you, deepen and expand you, enrich and relax you, grow you, and perhaps even make you holier. It all depends on accepting that the Board of Trustees chose you to be president, humbly yet fully accepting this and rejoicing in it. And let yourself be known daily in prayer by God. As God works through you, blesses and guides you as president and as his beloved son, who has been chosen to this great endeavor and is being inaugurated in this joyous day. Thanks, Eduardo, for accepting to be the 22nd president of Seattle University. Thank you.
I'd now like to call Board Chair Paiseki back up for the transition to our installation ceremony.
Thank you, Father Steve, for your 24 years of service as president and for sharing your reflection, your comments, your advice, and counsel on this momentous day. It is indeed a new era for Seattle University. And as Father Steve recalled, Eduardo, the Board of Trustees did select you. So I invite you to join me for the installation. I think you stand right. Take your mask off. Eduardo, you have the full confidence and support of the Board of Trustees and the entire Seattle U community as you lead this great institution forward. You are our university's top leader, but you will never walk alone. We are fortunate and grateful to have you, Eduardo. Your local roots, combined with your stellar scholarship, academic leadership, and commitment to faculty-led student achievement, make you the ideal president. As Seattle U's first lay president and first president of color, you bring new perspective and life experiences to the job, and an even greater spotlight on importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion in all aspects of our academic and campus life. We're proud to welcome you home and celebrate everything that makes this area and this institution special. You have already begun to articulate your vision for Seattle U in your short time at the helm. You see great potential for us as an institution that thrives at the nexus of technology, academic rigor, and humanity. That integration of innovation and ethics makes Seattle U an asset to this community, one you will no doubt nurture and grow through collaboration, critical thinking, thoughtfulness, and service to others. Your reasoned and cooperative leadership style will serve Seattle U well. You view challenges as opportunities. You welcome colleagues as true partners and believe academic excellence is the cornerstone of our future. Your stewardship of Seattle U will carry Seattle U forward in its tradition of developing principled leaders and engaged citizens who are well prepared for the careers of tomorrow. You welcome colleagues as true partners and believe in academic excellence, combined with a value-based education steeped in 500 years of tradition, being the cornerstone of our future. Importantly, you recognize that we aren't just training the future workforce, but rather building a world in which we can all prosper. We know that Seattle U will continue to influence both hearts and minds under your leadership. Like a red hawk, you will soar, Eduardo. The sky is truly the limit. By virtue of the authority of Seattle University and the Board of Trustees, I place over your shoulders the seal of the university, the symbol of the high office which you now hold. Distinguished guests, I now present to you the 22nd President of Seattle University, Eduardo Peñalver.
Thank you. Thank you, Board Chair Piasecki, Father Carroll, President Emeritus Sundborg, Provost Martin, members of the Seattle University Board of Trustees, faculty, students, staff, and administration, alumni and friends, distinguished colleagues and visitors from other universities, civic leaders. It's a great honor and privilege to be with you here today and to formally accept the responsibility of leading this remarkable academic community. Before I begin, I'd like to take a moment to thank the many people, faculty and staff, members of the Seattle University community, the broader Seattle community, who've welcomed me since my arrival in July, who've worked so hard to make this event possible, even in the face of all of the uncertainty presented by COVID. I'm especially grateful to the Inauguration Oversight and Planning Committee and particularly Michael Flores, Lizetta Solaric, and Julie Brady in the University Advancement Office for all the time and thought that they've put into this inauguration ceremony. Thank you. I'd also like to acknowledge the members of my family, some of whom have traveled great distances or taken precious time off from work to be with us here today. I'd particularly like to thank my parents, who throughout my life have been models of faith and service to me and my siblings. And of course to my brilliant and beautiful wife, Professor Sheetal Kalantri, who has been my best friend and partner in life for 25 years. She inexplicably puts up with all of my shortcomings, including occasional lapses of memory. Inside joke for people at dinner last night. Seattle University is unique among the universities of the Pacific Northwest, and arguably in the country, unique even among the tightly knit community of Catholic and Jesuit colleges and universities. Unique in our very distinctive vision to become a university known for our innovative, progressive, Jesuit, and Catholic approach to higher education. That's quite a list of adjectives. Innovative, progressive, Jesuit, and Catholic. There's a little something there for everyone. Sometimes piling adjectives one on top of another shrinks a category to extinction. Is that what's happening here? Or is this a case where the sum of the terms yields a whole that's greater and more inclusive than its constituent parts? To my mind, exploring the union of these four adjectives that Seattle University has used to describe itself, innovative, progressive, Jesuit, and Catholic, is like navigating a labyrinth. Or more precisely, to borrow from Jorge Luis Borges, it's like navigating a labyrinth of labyrinths, a maze of mazes, a twisting, turning, ever-widening labyrinth that contains both past and future and somehow implies the stars. The key to ensuring that this evocative string of words becomes an ever-widening labyrinth rather than a narrowing intellectual cul-de-sac is the word I've omitted, the word that's most definitive of who we are: university. All these other words are simply attempts to describe the kind of university we aspire to be. In his justly famous discourses on the idea of a university, St. John Henry Newman said that a university is, at its essence, a place of teaching. If universities were first and foremost places of discovery and creation, he reasoned, then he couldn't understand why a university should have students. After all, research could certainly be more efficiently done without the distraction of teaching beginners. But the presence of students, and indeed the impossibility of imagining a university without students, suggests that students, and therefore teaching, belong at the very center of our self-understanding. Newman's argument always makes me reflect on a very prestigious endowed lecture I attended as a freshman in college. The distinguished scholar who was delivering the lecture and who will remain nameless began his talk by extolling the virtues of the Princeton Institute for Advanced Studies, where he happened to be in residence at the time. And in a room full of tuition-paying undergraduates, he praised the Institute precisely because, and he said with a wide smile, and I quote, "There are no students there." If Newman was right, and if teaching students is the purest distillation of the university's purpose, it doesn't follow that the production of scholarship or creative works is without importance. One of the things that we're teaching our students to become is creators of knowledge. And so producing superb scholarship and including our students in that process is really vital to our educational mission. Now, not all universities understand themselves or scholarship in this way, and instead of being student-centered, some schools channel the scholar from the endowed lecture I attended as an undergraduate. They view discovery as their primary mission and the nurturing of students, especially undergraduate students, as a nuisance, perhaps merely as a necessary source of revenue, a way to keep the lights on. So I'll start with the proposition that as a Catholic university in the mold envisioned by John Henry Newman, Seattle University is a student-centered university. But what does it mean for Seattle University to be a university that's both progressive and Catholic? The juxtaposition of these two adjectives is startling. Some would say that it's a contradiction. To be progressive is to have one's eyes fixed on a brighter future. To be Catholic is, at least in part, to understand 2,000 years of tradition as a source of truth and wisdom. But it's at this knife's edge where these two perspectives meet that Seattle University has chosen to plant its flag. That seems like an unusual choice, maybe a slightly dangerous choice. I think to understand its deep wisdom, let me take a little bit of a detour and talk about the Cuban-born conceptual artist Felix Gonzalez Torres. Before there were NFTs, there was FGT. Gonzalez Torres' art pushes the limits of minimalism. This piece, for example, is called Portrait of Ross in LA. It consists of 175 pounds of hard candy, typically arranged in a corner. Felix Gonzalez Torres created it to honor his partner, Ross Laycock. 175 pounds was Ross's healthy weight. Patrons are encouraged to take pieces of candy home with them, and in so doing, they reenact over and over again Ross's gradual wasting away as he grew sick and died of AIDS. In 1990, Felix Gonzalez Torres created one of his most memorable works, Nowhere Better Than This Place, Somewhere Better Than This Place. This piece is a classic example of his minimalism. It consists of two neatly stacked piles of paper. On one pile appears the phrase, "Nowhere better than this place." On the other are printed the words, "Somewhere better than this place." Patrons are invited to take sheets from the piles to keep for themselves. The interaction between the audience and the art leads the piece to be in constant motion, with piles shrinking and then being replenished by the curator. What I find particularly fascinating about it is the conceptual labyrinth it seems to create. Which sheet do we take? Does choosing Nowhere Better suggest that we believe this place at this time is as good as it gets, that there's no room for improvement? If so, then choosing that page would seem to embody the self-satisfied affirmation of the complacent and the comfortable, an expression of pure privilege. In the midst of all the perfection and injustice that's plain to anyone with eyes to see, the decision seems simple, right? We need to set our sights on somewhere better than this place. But is that necessarily right? The poetry of Denise Levertov overflows with wonder at the world's beauty. A swan in the falling snow, the stillness of flowers, the sound of hail falling on stones in the early morning. She chastises visionaries who dream of colonies in space but who do not love the earth. And she even points an accusing finger at herself for allowing days to pass without remembering the most fundamental mystery of all, that there's anything at all, let alone the cosmos, joy, memory, everything, rather than the void. If we're forever pining for somewhere better, our eyes fixed on the endlessly receding horizon, we risk overlooking the goodness and beauty already present in the world all around us, flawed as it is. St. Ignatius of Loyola called ingratitude the most abominable of all sins because of its refusal to acknowledge the many benefits that we've already received. And if we fixate too narrowly on the possibility of somewhere better, we may fail to accept his invitation to seek God at work in all things. Sometimes people toggle between the two extremes. Revolutionary movements, for example, start out by focusing single-mindedly on creating somewhere better by any means necessary. Once in power, however, they often come to believe that they've achieved perfection and that as a result, there can be nowhere better. And even the discussion of that possibility comes to be viewed as counter-revolutionary. And so all too often, they begin to repress political freedoms and devolve into the self-satisfaction of nowhere better. Which sheet do we choose? Felix Gonzalez Torres does not tell us, and yet his decision to make the piles the same size is perhaps suggestive of his perspective on the matter. To my mind, his piece challenges us to celebrate both ideas at once, to find a way to live in gratitude for the goodness that we've received without forsaking the indispensable and never-finished search for somewhere better. But in this Manichaean all-or-nothing moment in which we're living, simultaneously acknowledging value in the present, or even more controversially, in the past, while affirming our commitment to work for somewhere better, can feel like an impossibility. That uncomfortable but necessary tension between acknowledging what is good while at the same time longing for what might be better distills for me the challenge of Seattle University's vision that it should simultaneously be progressive and Catholic. In recent years, an insistence on tradition, on the notion that the past has all the answers, has seemed to dominate the public understanding of what it means to be a Catholic. And yet, as Pope Francis reminds us, the Catholic tradition has always sought to maintain a balance between a reverence for received wisdom and the recognition that the restless Spirit of God remains alive and in motion even today, seeking to set the world on fire and to inspire us with new ways to live out and deepen our understanding of enduring truths. It's therefore not altogether surprising that from the soil of this Catholic intellectual tradition has sprouted many potent and progressive ideas over the years, ideas that were once novel. Ideas like social justice, a term that was first coined by the Catholic Thomist Luigi Taparelli in the mid-19th century, and which has been so forcefully elaborated in the social teaching of the Catholic Church in the 130 years since the publication of Rerum Novarum, New Things, in 1891. Coincidentally, in that same year, 1891, on September 27th, 130 years ago next week, in this remote corner of North America, on this eastern shore of the Salish Sea that we call home, a new thing came into being when two Jesuit priests celebrated the first Mass in the school that would become Seattle University. In the ensuing years, and as Father Steve observed in his own wonderful remarks, Seattle University has grown from a small Catholic college, largely by and for other Catholics, into a comprehensive university that engages with an increasingly secular society around us, a university that welcomes a diversity of people and ideas. And in so doing, Seattle University has become a cauldron of intellectual cross-fertilization and experimentation. And these developments, our increasing openness to a diversity of people and ideas and the increasing vitality of our academic culture are closely connected. Sustaining the kind of intellectual ferment that has led us to excel as a university has depended on our embrace of that diversity. And by this, I mean more than compositional diversity, although I surely mean that as well. But it has also depended on our embrace of a diversity of viewpoints and on our creation of an inclusive and supportive culture, both inside and outside the classroom, one that allows the full and fearless expression of our diversity. Universities have not always been hospitable to diversity. In the 20th century, many American universities excluded women or people of color. Many excluded Catholics and Jews and purged communists from their faculty ranks. Some continued to exclude LGBTQ people and gender nonconforming people, and even among those who do not actively exclude, many fail to create an environment that nurtures and sustains a sense of belonging by all. Today, the value of interacting across diverse identities and viewpoints is increasingly under assault from all directions, on campus and in our wider society. At Seattle University, we must recognize that diversity and the creation of an inclusive environment that allows diversity to express itself is at the very heart of our university's excellence. A university that is not diverse across multiple dimensions of identity and perspective, and that does not go beyond that diversity to establish a commitment to inclusion, belonging, and engagement, cannot credibly claim the mantle of excellence. We acknowledge that we still have a great deal of work to do. We need to increase the diversity of our faculty and our senior administration. We need to ensure the success of our diverse student body and sustain a campus culture in which students of all backgrounds and identities feel like equally valued members of our community. We need to welcome constructive engagement with people who hold different points of view. These are not distractions from our academic mission. They are essential to our ability to achieve it. But if we're true to our vision to be a progressive university community, is disagreement a sign of failure? Does welcoming a diversity of viewpoints suggest a lack of commitment to being a university that is truly progressive? In considering these questions, we need to first remember that our vision is to be a university that's progressive and Catholic. So it's no more the case that for Seattle University to be true to that vision, we must all be progressive than that we must all be Catholic, or that we must all be progressive or Catholic in precisely the same way. Nor do I need to remind you that progressives, full stop, disagree about a great deal. In fact, some might say that we are exceptionally good at disagreeing with one another. I've heard Seattle's contact sports version of politics sometimes described as the left versus the lefter. Progressives disagree about what somewhere better looks like. Is our goal radical economic equality or an end to radical inequality? Is our goal the freedom to choose one's gender expression or the rejection of gender as a meaningful category? Progressives disagree about how to prioritize among shared goals, about which goals should take precedence or whether that's even possible. Must we address economic inequality in order to make meaningful progress on climate change, or is climate change an existential threat that takes precedence over all other issues? And of course, progressives vehemently disagree about means. How do we get to somewhere better? Would a tax on payrolls provide badly needed revenue to tackle challenges like housing affordability, or would it simply encourage employers to move to Bellevue? People who consider themselves progressives can disagree about answers to all these questions, many of which are questions of empirical fact that require rigorous investigation, the kind of relevant investigation at which Seattle University excels. At a more basic level, we will disagree about what it means to navigate this tension between our university's Catholic and progressive commitments. And so it should be clear that our vision of being a university that is innovative and progressive and Jesuit and Catholic is hardly a recipe for consensus. This observation comes as no surprise to anyone who has spent an appreciable amount of time at Seattle University. It is a feisty and unruly place. That's a feature, not a bug, because we're a university. A university characterized by consensus would not be one worthy of the name. But our status as a university also has some important implications for how we go about living out our mission, including how we should go about disagreeing. Ignacio Ellacuria, the former rector of the Jesuit University of Central America, delivered a commencement address at Santa Clara University in 1982, 7 years before he was murdered by a death squad in El Salvador. In that address, he spoke about how a Catholic university committed to justice should live out its mission. Central to his argument was the insistence that even when confronted with radical injustice, as he surely was, we need to respond to it as a university. Ellacuria recognized that university work is collective work, and essentially so. He insisted that as a university, we are an intellectual community, not a collection of isolated individuals. Among other things, the collective nature of our work means that our disagreements at a university should be accompanied by a mutual recognition of our shared participation in a common academic enterprise. As a result, those disagreements should be tempered by a commitment to collegiality. They should be characterized by the kind of intellectual charity and the spirit of generosity, what the Jesuits call presupposition, that sustains community even as we challenge one another. Ellacuria further insisted that as a university, we should confront the injustices we seek to defeat first and foremost as academics, by rigorously analyzing causes, by deepening our understanding of social mechanisms. Finally, and here perhaps echoing John Henry Newman a bit, Ellacuria argued that as a university, we should seek to bring a better world into being through our students. As a student-focused institution in the Jesuit model, it's our students, he said, who will be the immediate instruments of social transformation. Seattle University's mission statement therefore wisely commits us to empowering our students to become leaders for a just and humane world. Our mission of educating and empowering students means preparing them to lead, teaching them to question and to think, equipping them with the skills to persuade those with whom they disagree. And it means helping them to appreciate the beauty and the blessings in the world around us, even as we recognize its imperfections and injustices. To realize Seattle's bold ambition that there be nowhere better for students to grapple with society's great challenges, we have our work cut out for us. As we look to the future and consider what stands between our imperfect present and somewhere better, three great challenges loom. One is the existential threat of global climate change and ecological sustainability, which imperils our very survival. Seattle University, which this year will achieve Scope 2 carbon neutrality, needs to be at the forefront of the effort to develop new ways of thinking and living, which will require all of our creativity and intellectual rigor. A second grave challenge is the scourge of persistent racial injustice coupled with ever-widening economic inequality and other forms of social exclusion and subordination that threaten our sense of common purpose. The events of the past 18 months, particularly the protests in the wake of George Floyd's murder, have underscored the urgency of understanding and addressing the deep structures of injustice that we've inherited. If our multiracial, pluralist democracy is to survive, our students need to understand those structures so that as the leaders for a just and humane world, they can help to dismantle them. The third great challenge of our time is rapid technological transformation, the so-called Fourth Industrial Revolution, which promises exciting changes in our ways of interacting and doing business, but which also facilitates the spread of misinformation and extremism. No matter what field of study our students have chosen, from political science to computer science, they need to understand data and technology, not just in their technical dimensions, but through an interdisciplinary lens that includes their impact on human beings and our communities. Rapid technological change also opens doors to new pedagogical possibilities. Over the past 18 months, COVID has forced us to rethink the way that we educate our students. Some of the changes imposed on us by the pandemic are things we will be happy to leave behind. I've never taken to bumping elbows as a sign of greeting. And if I never attend another virtual cocktail party, it will be too soon. But some of the things we've learned during COVID have permanently expanded our capacity to reach students where and when they are. And in the coming months and years, Seattle University will take advantage of these new muscles to roll out programs of study, making use of hybrid online modalities that allow us to draw on our best of both in-person engagement and online flexibility, growing our graduate, professional, and executive education programs, and making them more accessible. In the new world that COVID has accelerated into being, our educational community will expand both spatially and temporally to include students in faraway places and in different stages of life. But as with everything we do, we will undertake these efforts with a firm commitment to our Jesuit approach to deeply engaging with and educating the whole person, reconciling faith with reason, and inculcating in our students not just knowledge, but wisdom. As we return this fall to on-campus instruction, we will draw upon these lessons and reignite Seattle University's strategic directions process. We will launch working groups aimed at moving forward on the 5 goals that Seattle University has identified for itself. These groups will be charged with reimagining an interdisciplinary curriculum in order to prepare our students to engage with the 3 great challenges of our time, enhancing the student experience inside and outside the classroom, investing in professional formation for members of our community, promoting inclusive excellence, and creating the conditions for institutional growth and innovation. And we will approach all of these efforts from a foundational affirmation of our Jesuit and Catholic character. We will live up to our promise to be a student-centered university that welcomes people of all backgrounds and identities, that cares for our students as whole persons, attending not only to their intellectual well-being, but to their spiritual, physical, and moral development. As I said, we have our work cut out for us. But like Borges's infinite labyrinth, the work of a university, the work of educating our students, striving to prepare them to lead to a more just and humane world, is never accomplished. At universities around the world, that work has been going on in different ways for 1,000 years. Here at Seattle University, as Father Steve pointed out, we are relative newcomers, carrying on that tradition in our distinctive way in this outpost of the Pacific Northwest for a mere 130 years. As Seattle University's 22nd president, I am committed to stewarding our unique approach to the academic enterprise, ensuring that our bold ambition to become a university that is simultaneously innovative and progressive and Jesuit and Catholic is not a cul-de-sac that turns in on itself, ultimately leading nowhere, but instead remains an ever-widening labyrinth within a labyrinth, one that encompasses the past and the future, and even implies the stars. I'm committed to looking hopefully to the future, even while giving thanks for the blessings that we've inherited from the past. And I will work tirelessly to ensure that for Seattle University's second 130 years, there will be nowhere better than this place to imagine somewhere better than this place. Thank you.
Seattle University has such a wonderful tradition of excellence in the fine and performing arts, and we are so fortunate to work alongside such gifted artists. Professor Quentin Morris has been a faculty member at Seattle University since 2007 and is well known as a concert violinist, chamber musician, educator, entrepreneur, filmmaker, and community advocate. Professor Aaron Chung is currently a member of the piano faculty at Seattle University. Please join me once again in thanking Dr. Quentin Morris and Dr. Aaron Chung. And now it is my pleasure to introduce to you Student Government President Marrakesh Maxwell, who will lead the community in honoring and blessing our new president. Marrakesh is a senior studying public affairs and environmental studies. She aspires to pursue a career in advocacy, engagement, and mentorship at an organization that is passionate about collaboration and communication. Please welcome Marrakesh Maxwell.
Thank you. The entire community gathered blesses and supports our new president, Eduardo Peñalver. I ask you to join me in a community blessing for his success, health, and happiness. Please extend one of your hands as you are able in a sign of blessing. We bless and honor our president, Eduardo Peñalver. May he thrive in his presidency, bringing new energy, wisdom, and vision to the Seattle University community. May he be inspired to lead as he inspires us by his leadership. May he experience the community's support when times are challenging. May he know the fruits of success when times are good. May his family be supported and honored as they accompany him on his journey. May Shitul, Sid, and Jay make this place their home and be welcomed and embraced by this community as the first family of Seattle University. May Eduardo's parents, brothers and sisters, and extended family know of our deep love and appreciation for our president. Eduardo, may Seattle University flourish under your presidency. May your days be filled with joy and your burdens be light, or as light as possible. May your heart be filled with hope, your mind filled with bold ideas, and your life filled with health and happiness. Thus, we honor you and wish you every good thing, today and every day of your presidency. Welcome home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marrakesh. Friends, colleagues, our honored guests, it has been my pleasure to serve as your Master of Ceremonies. I would like once again to extend our gratitude to our distinguished guests and to everyone present for joining us for this momentous occasion. As our time comes to a close, I ask that you please stay seated until after the members of the academic procession have recessed and your row is dismissed. Following the recessional, we invite you to join us on Seattle University's campus for a community luncheon on the Quadrangle, formerly known, or lovely known as the Quad. Buses are available for transport and will depart from the north exit of the hall. Truly, our future begins now. Today, we celebrate the inauguration of Eduardo M. Peñalver, and we usher in a new era in the history of Seattle University. May we all work together in community, seeking that space between nowhere better and somewhere better. Thank you.
Dijo Martí, ¿de dónde crece la palma? Y antes de morir me quiero cantar mis versos del alma. Guantanamera, Guajira Guantanamera, Guantanamera, Guajira Guantanamera. Cultivo una rosa blanca en junio como en enero, para el amigo sincero que me da su mano franca. Guantanamera, Guajira Guantanamera, Guantanamera, Guajira Guantanamera.
De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Puerto voy para Mayarí. De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Puerto voy para Mayarí. De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Puerto voy para Mayarí. El cariño que te tengo no te lo puedo negar. Se me sale la babita, yo no lo puedo evitar. Cuando Juanica y Chan Chan en el mar servían arena, como sacudí el jibe, a Chan Chan le daba pena. Limpia el camino de paz, que yo me quiero sentar en aquel tronco que veo y así no puedo llegar. De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Puerto voy para Mayarí. De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Puerto voy para Mayarí. De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Puerto voy para Mayarí. De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Puerto voy para Mayarí. De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Puerto